And we are live for episode 4 of the Sports Card Advantage podcast. I am Jeff, and this is Bunk. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? How we doing?
We're doing good. Weather's getting warm. It's time to start getting back outside. Hopefully, another week or so, start a little live baseball action.
Yeah, guy. I was at practice tonight. Little T-ball.
Little T-ball, and fantasy drafts are starting to happen.
Just had my big one last weekend.
And who we looking at this year? What are the top three on the roster?
On my roster, wasn't the greatest of drafts as far as auctions go, but I got my boy Bryce Harper coming back, so that's all that matters. He's driving the team.
That's all you care about. All right.
That's all I care about.
Well, let's get into today's main event. Today's main event, since we are talking baseball, is to talk some baseball. We're going to do a little MLB card preview. And then for reference, today is March 23rd, 9:18 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so that you can know when the prices were referenced and everything else for this. You are the baseball guy, so why don't you kick us off and let's talk a little baseball. Give me some products that you're looking at, some players that you're looking at, some vets, some rookies, some prospects. Run it down for me as far as what you got.
Whoa, that's a lot there, guy.
It's a lot.
You want product first? You want some players first?
Let's talk product first. There's a bunch of stuff that's coming out over the next couple weeks, stuff that's come out over the past few weeks, so that's coming out over the next few weeks. Let's talk product first, and then we'll talk players, and then we'll talk prospects.
Yeah, I don't know if it was this morning or yesterday morning. My days are like crazy right now, but mid-April is going to be the 2021 Bowman release. But Topps Online exclusive, they released their 2021 Bowman first edition packs. So I was lucky enough to get a handful of those and place that order in. So I think a couple weeks for them to ship, but they'll be in hand, and you'll see those up online and people posting those really soon. If you're familiar with it, last year, I think last year was the first year they did it, and that's where you had the big Jason Dominguez hunting and Bobby Witt, and some of your other first rounders in their first ever Bowman card in this online exclusive first edition release. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the 2021 ones look like.
Alrighty, so who are we looking at this year? Who is this year's Jason Dominguez and Bobby Witt? The guys that everybody's going to be going after, to collect.
I think the main guys you're looking at that came out of the top 10 draft class were, number 1 overall, Spencer Torkelson. You got Zach Veen out in Colorado. You got Nick Gonzalez, the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the fella from the Orioles, Heston Kjerstad. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, but he was pretty popular in the Bowman draft product. As far as the pitchers, nobody collects pitchers, so I'm not even going to talk about them.
Fair enough. And other than the Bowman first, what other products are you looking at over the next, let's say, 4 to 6 weeks as things that you want to grab?
Yeah, and not to confuse people, this is the Bowman first edition. It's the same, it's going to be the exact same card that's going to be in the April release. It just has the first edition stamp. It doesn't necessarily mean it's their first Bowman card. Oftentimes we refer to somebody's first Bowman. That doesn't mean it's this first edition product.
Correct.
No, I didn't know if you knew that guy.
Well, I do know that. I've been studying because I've been buying Jason Dominguez cards.
All right, well, hey. You're going to see plenty more of Dominguez in this product. There's going to be Wander Franco, Adley Rutschman, Kelenic, Julio Rodriguez. They're all in here. JJ Bleday. So there's going to be plenty of guys to chase in this. And as with every online exclusive we've seen in the last 12 months, they're all a hit.
All right. Fair enough. And, as the season goes on, the guys that are up and playing, if they're playing well, cards go up. If they're not playing well, cards go down. Pretty simple.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of these guys, they're going to be in the minors for a couple of years. I mean, out of the top 10 overall Major League prospects making their Major League debut this year is going to be Wander Franco, Adley Rutschman. You'll see Mackenzie Gore this year in San Diego. Guys like Bobby Witt are probably another year away. the Mariners will probably keep Julio Rodriguez another year, but you'll see Kelenic this year, who hit a bomb today. You know, those guys will be up, and their values are already up there. But you know, the second they start getting a couple big boy hits at the major league level, it's on.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody's making a big deal about Bobby Witt getting, pushed back down to the minors, but from what I understand, it's all contractual stuff, and as far as what they got to pay him and when he's up on the big club versus down. So,
yeah, it's all years of control. You're probably going to see Kelenic and Wander and Adley. I don't think any of them are going to come north. I think they're all going to start down. And now you got a delayed AAA season too, so that's another issue for these teams to try to decide. What's the new date? Where is it in May or whenever it's going to be? Where now the team gets that extra year of control, and then they bring them up.
Yeah, and from a card standpoint, because we like to try to focus on cards, because one of the things that bothers me the most about listening to Sports Card Podcasts is when they try to become ESPN analysts. From a card standpoint, what are we talking about as far as value, in regards to, does it matter whether or not they're still in the minors? I mean, their values stay relatively stable, provided that they're still going to get brought up to the majors. And then as soon as they start playing Major League Baseball, that's when it's really going to, potentially take off, correct?
Yeah, I think once you get the call up, you always see the spike. If they get off to a hot start, you'll see the spike. If they get off to a cold start, you'll definitely see some panic selling. So and the market they're in matters too.
Yeah, absolutely. Wander Franco, number 1 overall in Tampa Bay. We'll see. We'll see if he's the real deal. We'll talk about him a little bit more later on. Let's talk other products. What else are you looking at?
Yeah, coming down the pike, I mean, there's a couple, set builder type products coming out. You got opening day coming out in a couple days. You got Topps Heritage a couple days after that. So this year's Topps Heritage is going to look like the old 1972 design. Yeah, so that's pretty neat.
I saw a couple of those cards. I'm not a fan. It looked pretty fucking hideous in my opinion.
Well, I don't know how many people put together, 1972 sets anymore. I mean, I would, but yeah. Listen, I have almost in completion the 2001 through 2005, I believe, Topps Heritage Master sets. It was my favorite set to collect every year. This was back when card boxes were affordable. It was my favorite set to collect every year. I collected all the short prints, all the inserts. I collected the master set for each of those first 4 years. I've fallen off from Heritage. It just doesn't do it for me anymore. I love building sets. I don't know if I'm an all or nothing type of guy. So if I'm going to build that set, I'm putting together all the short prints. And that's tough because nowadays everyone's buying and selling. It's tough to find enough people that you're trading with to complete some of these sets sometimes. Now there's definitely some nice communities out there where you can build sets still, but not like we used to. I would trade 20 trades a week on Beckett.com in their trade forums, and there's a whole bunch of other trading sites that do still exist, and there are people on. But I think it fell away for me just because it's harder and harder to trade for some of these guys. I can't buy every card in a set. I've got to trade in lots. That's just the way I like to do it. So I just fell away from Heritage. So I'm not excited about it. I haven't bought into any Heritage breaks yet, so we'll see.
And on this day in baseball nerd history, we've gotten a breakdown of Heritage baseball. Well, give me the shit you're excited about. I don't give a shit about the stuff that you don't care about. Give me the stuff that. Give me the stuff that's going to be exciting.
There's nothing I'm excited. You're looking at $1,800 pre-sale Topps definitive boxes at the end of the month. $1,800 for 8 cards. Now, for the most part, there's a couple bangers in each box, but listen, I've watched a bunch of people try to run, 8 cards in a box, and guys will run hit drafts. So you're paying a huge price point per spot. Maybe the top 2 or 3 cards that get you a valued card worth the spot. So again, it's a huge gamble with a product like that. Like all breaks are gambling. I get it, but still, for the price point to get into one of these breaks for a product like the Definitive, which is beautiful product, but I can't lay out $1,800 for a box of it.
Well, I mean, if you're not buying boxes, then you're buying singles, which is fine. Just wait till it comes out, and then after it comes out, then you wait until, give it some time to cool off a little bit, and then that's when you're buying singles of the product. I mean, what about like Triple Threads and Flawless and National Treasures and all that stuff? Is that coming out before, like around the beginning of the season, or is that like mid-season type stuff?
No, it's a little bit later in the year. The next two main releases after the ones I just mentioned are going to be Gypsy Queen, which is a pretty popular product. That comes out at the beginning of April, and you also have another pretty popular, and I'm usually a fan of it too, just because of the design and it's shiny. Is Topps Tribute will also be out in April.
Okay. And let's talk a little bit about rookies, prospects, outside of, Bowman first. Who do you like this year that is outside of like your Acuna, Soto, Tatis that everybody, the household names, what are you looking at as far as guys that you may try to pick up at a value?
I've been hammering these top 10 guys. The big guy I'm the biggest fan of is Jared Kelenic.
Okay.
The Mets dished him out to Seattle in the Edwin Diaz trade, and I think he's special. And again, to your point earlier, I'm no analyst, but everything I read about him and watching about him, and he's in Seattle, so definitely some of his second year cards, his 2019 cards and such are definitely well affordable. And I think when he takes off, those cards are going to take off as well. But he's a guy, he was one of the main guys I was buying all winter.
Okay. And then let's talk the elephant in the room, the Martian, Jason Dominguez. Full disclosure, we are personal collectors of Jason Dominguez. Let's talk about it. Is now the time to buy his stuff? When is he looking at the major leagues? I mean, some of his autos are already $3,000 or $4,000 right now. Also full disclosure, last night I picked up 2 BGS 9.5 2020 Bowman Chrome firsts. Is that the card you throw in the safe for the next 25 years? And it's the perfect storm of him being the best fucking player since Trout and Mantle, playing in New York, maybe winning some World Series rings, and then it's worth $50,000 in 20 years. Is that possible?
It's definitely possible. It's just a matter of where are you getting in, what floor are you getting in on in his value chain. And to be fair, we talked Wander Franco. If you read some of the player profiles on Wander Franco and Jason Dominguez, they read almost identical. You want to talk hype train to New York market. Is Dominguez good? Yeah, he's probably good. No one's seen him take on a professional at bat yet. But if you read the descriptions, they both state they are generational switch hitting talents. So it's the same comments used for Dominguez are being used for Wander. They're both considered top.
Yeah, but Dominguez could hit 50 home runs a year, and Wander does Wander have that kind of power?
From the left side, he does. I don't think he's going to hit enough home runs from what I've seen from the right side of the plate to get to 50.
Home runs create value. I mean, that's.
Yeah, no doubt. Listen, Dominguez, he hasn't even had a pro at bat. His ETA in the majors is 2024 is the Yankees. The Yankees like to pull chains with guys. They don't like just to bring guys. The last guy they brought up early that I was excited about was Melky Cabrera, and I was shocked they brought him up so young.
Yuck.
And now I have 50 BGS. I have the number one registry on Beckett for Melky Cabrera cards because I was such a fan. They brought him up so young.
Well, I mean, at the very least, we'll have our stash of retirement Dominguez's and keep our fingers crossed for the next few years.
Listen, I watched somebody's podcast once, and I feel terrible. I'm not going to give the credit where credit's due, and I don't know where he got it from, but the guy pretty much said, you have a pile of money in your hand and you have a card. What'll make you happy? Would you rather have the money or would you rather have the card? If you'd rather have the card, then you buy the card.
I mean, the way I look at it
was the most simple thing I've ever heard, and it makes a whole ton of sense to me. So if you want Dominguez cards, go get Dominguez cards. And that's the thing. If he is the next Mike Trout, and you may be getting in on the ground floor, even though the values are through the roof. Like I'm not going out and buying a Bowman Chrome Jason Dominguez because I think he's the next Mantle for $1,500.
No,
if you're thinking that and you want an auto of him, go grab his Bowman Best for $200. At least you won't lose your shirt when we can't get out of AA.
Yikes! There's gonna be a lot of angry people.
Listen, I'm a huge Yankee fan, and I want the kid to be good, but like we can't go nuts here. I got to see the kid hit a professional slider first.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but if he gets stuck in Double-A, I mean, there's going to be a lot of angry people.
But that's the problem. You gotta pay attention to what market guys are in and the hype train surrounding this stuff. If he was a prospect 5 years ago, the values we'd be talking about him completely differently because the values are so warped now compared to several years ago. You got to keep putting that into perspective. The new dudes and gals coming in the hobby right now, they're seeing these escalated, tremendous values on things. These prices did not exist 12 to 18 months ago. They did not exist. This was not a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to something and they were talking about how you could buy certain boxes of like 2003, the 2003 basketball boxes you're buying for $500 to $1,000. Now they're going for $30,000. This was like 2 or 3 years ago. So 100% agree. And, just don't overextend. I mean, the 2 cards that I bought last night were $160 a piece, so you can get, if you want to grab a couple Wanders or Dominguez's or any of these guys that are supposed to be the future, you can get their cards PSA 9, 10, BGS 9.5 for anywhere from $100 to $300. And as Bunk said, some of these autos, $250. You can get them ungraded. Just take a look at them before you buy them, and if they're, make sure they're in good shape before you buy them.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's change gears. Actually, before we change gears, veterans. Let's talk a little veterans. Other than, once again, the big 3, anybody else you're buying or excited about this year that maybe got out of the gate slow on rookie and, somebody's that you think potentially has some value?
Are we talking near the end of the career or just anybody?
Anybody. Or a guy that, maybe had a first few years were slow and, maybe he's going to come into his own, third, fourth, fifth year, whatever. And then you go back and, pick up rookies from 4 or 5 years ago or, whatever.
Yeah, no one's coming to mind off the top of my head right now. I really believe Bryce Harper's undervalued. I truly believe he's undervalued.
And disclaimer, Bunk has the largest man crush in history on Bryce Harper and his hair. So don't let that sway you as far as the knowledge here.
No, he's just living in Mike Trout's shadow. He just, all the hype goes around Trout, greatest player in the game. And I know you look at the player rankings and all these analytic and sabermetrics, he barely cracks the top 25 in some of those categories. I get it, but
yes, Trout hits 330 and 40 home runs every year, and Bryce cracking like 285 and had some off seasons. Trout, if you look at his numbers, he doesn't have off years. Trout, Harper's.
I'm not arguing that.
Harper's
Frank
had a
Thomas and Ken Griffey Jr. are still better than him.
We
get another poll question.
Yeah, we might have to do another poll question, but you look at numbers side by side. Where Trout's going to finish. I don't know. If I was starting a franchise, I'd probably take Griffey over Trout, but I'd take Trout over Thomas.
Okay. But I will give you one guy that I actually about a month ago I started looking into. He's at the end of his career. He's going to hit. He's got a couple big milestones he's coming up on. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Is Miguel Cabrera.
Yeah,
he's stuck out, and he's stuck in Detroit. Detroit stinks now. Detroit should be good in a couple years now. They've had so many top 3 picks. They should be disgusting, but he'll be gone for that. But I was looking at some of his his rookie cards are in 2000. I was looking at some of his stuff, and I was surprised to see there's some nice buys there for Miguel Cabrera because he's another guy. His numbers are tremendous. When people realize, oh yeah, it's Miguel Cabrera, he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
There's a lot of room on the bone there, and for me, it's not even a flip. For me, Miguel Cabrera, I would just put that away and put it in my personal collection because I feel like the value's good right now on some of his stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And as soon as he goes to the Hall, you'll see a nice bump. So if you are looking to flip it, wait until he gets inducted and then, flip it.
What's out of control is Pujols and Ichiro tops traded prices from 2001. Have you seen those lately?
Yeah, it's crazy. But Pujols, this is potentially his last year. Ichiro's already done. And I mean, you forget about Ichiro as far as like, him in the card market, but, him, not only does he have popularity in the States, but, a lot of the Japanese card collectors, are all about Ichiro. So there's multiple massive markets around him. So his stuff is crazy expensive. It's been that way for a while.
Yeah, but I mean, lately, these last 6 months, it's been insane.
Well, yeah, I mean, all the vintage '90s and early 2000s stuff has spiked, but I mean, there's also we saw it come down. So I think there'll be some time, once he gets inducted, that prices will come back down a little bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, full disclosure for me, if you're trying to get my angle on some of this stuff, I think the only years I did not really collect much was in high school. So when I got back, when I was in college and I discovered eBay, I think I opened my eBay account in 2001. So more fun bunk facts. That's when I started buying like boxes and stuff like crazy again. And in 2001, Topps Traded was a set I bought heavily, and I got a couple. I put together a bunch of those sets at the time, and I didn't know who Pujols or Ichiro was really. I mean, you knew about him just because you follow baseball, but baseball cards were baseball cards. They were still it was like 1980 still in baseball card world in 2001.
Stuff was cheap.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. All right, we have rattled on enough about baseball. And we'll you don't have to zip it yet because the next segment we're moving into is our invest to flip segment. We're going to be talking football because it's off season, prices are down, and now's the time for us to be looking to invest and either put away for the future and or wait to flip for the beginning of the season or middle of the season for football. We're talking quarterbacks, Joe Burrow and one Daniel Dimes, otherwise known as Daniel Jones. Let's talk Burrow first. I'm going to bring up the Burrow chart here. We're looking at his 2019. Is 2019 or 2020? My brain is
he's 2020.
Broken.
DJ is 2019.
Yeah, there you go. 2020 Joe Burrow Prism Raw. Take it away.
Yeah, no, we've been looking at a lot of slabbed cards in these segments, and I wanted to look at a couple raw cards. Similar product, obviously only a year apart. But with Joe Burrow, to your point, it's at a price now, in my opinion, and we can check it out, and you can chime in on the chart there. But he's at a price now. To your point, you can either put the money in now because he's affordable and put it away, or if you're looking for it's a little bit of a longer term play because he's going to have to come back and prove he's healthy and start winning some games. And if you saw the video they released a couple days ago, whenever it was, he's looking pretty good. So he appears to be on track for the season. His base Prism Raw is a fraction of its peak, at the beginning. So I think he's a really good buy. If you don't own a Joe Burrow card and you're a Bengals fan and you want to PC it, then now's the time to get it.
I mean, even if you're looking to grade or flip or whatever else, I mean, if you look at the chart, just from a purely charting standpoint, I mean, there's a floor here. Your floor on these cards, buying them raw is between $75 to $80. So you're gonna spend, his PSA 10 cards are 10x that. So if you're looking to spend a little bit, $300-400, you can buy 5 of these raw cards. Just make sure you do your due diligence in regards to the centering and edges, and look at the eBay seller ratings if that's where you're buying them. Make sure that you're buying from reputable people and you have a good shot to get something that grades out. The Prism products the last few years grade really well. So definitely something that for $300-400 you could pick up 5 or 6 of these easily, and hopefully get a couple of 9s and 10s.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned once before, for me personally, I feel like I need to pick up the card and pull it out of a pack myself, or find it at a show or something of that nature, to feel good about buying it if I'm going to grade it, as opposed to just trusting pictures online. But you made me think of something about reputable dealers and sellers. one thing I'll look at if I am looking at a card and I want to make sure it's a good condition card, I'm going to look to see how many in their other listings are they selling tons of graded cards. If they're selling tons of graded cards and they're selling a pretty popular raw card and they haven't sent it in themselves for grading, and it appears that there's someone who grades a lot of cards, I might think twice about buying from them.
Yeah, definitely something to think about. And the Burrow PSA 10 prisms there's 303. So that's definitely much less than we've seen like in basketball. There's 16,000, Luka PSA 10s. So, 303 is a really low pop number. There's 329 on the PSA 9s. But the PSA 9s are basically 2x your raw, and your PSA 10 is 10x your raw. So, definitely look around to see what you can find for raws in good condition, whether or not there's shows or eBay or, through trading circles on Twitter or Facebook, and see what you can do with it.
Did you see? I don't know when it was released. It might have been as early as today. Did you see that information PSA put out or someone released about the volume that they received at the beginning of last year, and when probably around the time the pandemic was getting into full swing? Why they're so backlogged?
I'm sure it's absurd.
The numbers were absurd, like so absurd that there's probably you said there's 300 of each approximately. I wouldn't be shocked if there's hundreds, if not thousands, of Burrows still held up by PSA sitting there.
Yeah,
that haven't come back yet.
I mean that is definitely a factor in regards to all this stuff. I think that. The pop numbers as the backlog gets cleared are going to grow. And I think with certain cards, you're going to see that impact the value. I think, one of the things that people are using as a talking point that the market is, starting to quote unquote, the bubble starting to burst is like the Jordan that, it sold for 750,000. And, the other day it sold for like 450. But I think that people are hearing this stuff on the news and they're like, holy shit, I got a Jordan in my garage or in my attic or whatever. And then all of a sudden there's going to be a lot more of these cards coming in everywhere. And it's going to affect the value.
That's an era where there's a lot of them.
Yeah. I mean, there's a ton of stuff. I mean, I've literally talked to two different people in the last month that I've talked, like they had no idea about sports cards. So I was telling them what I was involved in and, talking about, how much the Jordans were selling for. And both of them said that they had, 86 Fleer Jordans one said it was in his garage and the other one said he had it in a storage unit with his other stuff. Christ. And, so it's like, there's going to be a lot of these things that, start to surface and all of a sudden make their way into PSA. So
I got an 86 Topps Mattingly.
I don't think that's going to be quite the same.
No.
So yeah, I think that Burrow he's going to be a stud. Tennessee's rumored to be drafting a wide receiver, an offensive lineman, and or trading for ones to get him more weapons now that AJ Green's gone. So he'll have a good season. Provided.
You mean Cincinnati? You said Tennessee. I was so confused.
My bad. My bad. Cincinnati, not Tennessee. I don't know why I was thinking Tennessee, but
he's good. And then flipping the script over to Daniel Jones, his bases are even lower. Now they caught a little spike with the Galladay news, but they're still really nice buys right now. If you're a believer in the New York Football Giants, and I'm biased because I'm a Giants fan as well, and I bought him a little bit last year. Up until the last 12 months, I was mainly a baseball guy. And then when everything started exploding, I started venturing out and everything. So I got into a little football with Daniel Jones, and obviously the season didn't go well, and nor did his card values go well. But
yeah, I mean, his card values got absolutely destroyed. I mean, they were selling his rookie year before he stepped foot on the field, being the number 6 overall pick. His cards were selling for obscene prices. As you see on the chart, his raw prism peaked out at $160.
And what that must have been September.
That was September of 2020. September 9th, 2020. $160 raw prism.
Yep.
And, now we're at, more than likely give it a couple weeks for the Galladay hype to die down a little bit. And especially if they draft a defensive lineman in the first round, in April, you'll probably be able to get Jones PSA card, Jones raw prisms for $40.
Oh, I think you get him even less right now too if you look hard enough.
Yeah,
I think I can go a couple less.
Yeah, definitely. And but if you look at the Giants starting lineup, they got weapons. And if Jones comes out hot and finds a way to get it done and connect with Galladay and some of the other weapons that they have, you could easily see 3x that in the middle of the season.
Easy. So I'm looking to pick up a few myself. I'm going to put some in the PC because, again, I was a huge Eli Manning guy. I would never collected football cards. I wish I did. I'd have more of him. So now, again, you're a new collector coming in and you're a Cowboy fan and you missed the boat on Romo. You can get in on the Dak train.
Fuck are you going, guy? Well, how did we go from Daniel Jones to Romo? What the hell are you talking about?
People understand.
Fair enough.
Those that believe the hobby's still alive.
Yeah, the hobby is dead. It's the business. We'll still refer to it in our social media channels and everywhere else as the hobby because that's what people know it as, but the hobby is dead. All right.
It's so bad.
Before we move on, let's talk a little bit more quarterback. I want to talk two guys in particular that everybody is talking about in regards to investment and I hate. And that is Carson Wentz and Jameis Winston. I've heard multiple podcasts, people talking about it's time to buy Carson Wentz and it's time to buy Jameis. Wentz's Prism PSA 10 right now is going for $600. Winston's Prism PSA 10 is going for $300. I just don't see it. I think that I'm not buying those lottery tickets. If you want to buy raw Jameis for, $30, same as Daniel Jones, no problems with that whatsoever. Jameis has the same chance of success as Daniel Jones. Am I buying the Prism PSA 10 am I spending any kind of real money on Jameis? No, but I would buy a lot of 5 raw Prism 2015 Jameses and try to get him graded and hold him until, see what he's got. But, Jameis threw 33 interceptions his last full season. And Wentz has had a total of maybe 6 to 8 good games in the NFL. He's playing in Indy. They don't got much as far as high-powered receivers. So I'm not excited about Wentz in, Paris Campbell and fucking Michael, what's his face?
Pittman guy.
Pittman, yeah, exactly. Are you getting excited about fucking Pittman? Wentz to Pittman? Is that really what's gonna get it done?
Listen. I agree with Jameis. Jameis Winston throws the ball to the wrong team all the time. He has no idea. LASIK surgery. I don't know, but too many interceptions for me. Never liked the guy. Fine. So I agree with you there. Wentz, though, listen, he's reunited with what's his name,
Reich,
who got the best at it. I think 6 games is a little rough in your description there. He was on his way to the NFL MVP before he got hurt that year, and that was that was with Reich. So I can't totally disagree with you, but I think
I'm gonna bring up a Wentz chart. I've been sitting on this one for a bit, just for the numbers' sake. Wentz's PSA 10s peaked at $950. They're currently selling for $550.
That much?
Yeah, that much. So
yeah, no thanks. At $550, I'm not buying Carson Wentz.
Yeah,
at $75, I'm in.
We can see what his raw is going for. His raw.
No, I think there's a chance for Carson to rebound a little bit.
When he got traded, there were people that bought his raws for 150 to 175. Now they're back down to 85. But if I'm gonna spend that $85, give me Burrow raws all day. Like,
well,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
in terms of turning it over, yeah, I'm gonna buy the Burrow because
in terms of anything, in terms of owning a card, whether or not if I give you $85 to spend and you can buy one Joe Burrow raw prism and get $5 back, or you're gonna spend your all $85 on one Carson Wentz card, where are you spending your money?
yeah, I listen. I can't disagree with you there. I mean, the Carson Wentz,
I don't know. I
not
can't.
sexy.
Yeah, I can't get behind it. I think the risk reward is there's too much risk for not enough reward. And that's my problem. I look at these markets like markets. Been studying markets since I was 12, and risk reward is always what it's about. And I think even if he comes out and has, throws for 3,500 yards and 30 touchdowns, which is a decent season for a quarterback, who gives a shit?
Yeah, no, I look at it this way because again, I'm not a huge football in terms of flipping football or collecting football, but I look at it this way: does Joe Burrow have a much better shot of performing well in September than Carson Wentz does?
Yeah,
yeah. So that's where my money's going.
100%.
That's pure and simple. But I do think Wentz has a shot to rebound a little bit, but I'm not buying at those prices. No shot.
No, agreed. All right, let's move on. We are going to talk lottery ticket. Lottery ticket is Tyrese Maxey this week. Got a Tyrese rookie revolution on the screen. With LaMelo getting hurt, there is slim pickings as far as cards that, players that people are getting excited about. So right now there's a couple of Maxi cards that you can buy, either Revolution or you can get a Revolution Auto. Both of these cards are selling for less than $50. There's a couple of Donruss Choice cards you can get for cheap. Prism, first off the line, dropped today for a lot less money than people thought. So you more than likely can get his stuff cheap out of that. And then regular Prism's going to drop in like 3 to 4 weeks. He's playing some minutes for the 76ers. 76ers are a playoff team. If he gets back into regular minutes, regular rotation, and can do some damage in the playoffs, he could potentially have some Tyler Hero type card movement. If he has any impact in the national spotlight, you could get his cards for super cheap. This auto that's on the screen right now is $45 literally yesterday on eBay, which is unheard of in basketball markets for decent rookies. It's somebody that I would take a shot on to buy and, possibly even put away for a year or two. Philadelphia is going to be good. They're going to be in the playoffs for the next few years, especially when Embiid comes back from injury. And, guys that make it to the playoffs that have an impact, cards go up. And right now, there's nobody else really that other than some Anthony Edwards stuff here and there. But, there's not, everybody's pretty much on the same playing field for basketball rookies right now, and might as well grab somebody that's cheap. So he's our lottery ticket of the week.
Yeah, I almost I shouldn't say fell victim. I almost bought into the Tyler Hero hype train on Twitter and almost bought a nice PSA 10 card during the first round. I wish I pulled the trigger on it because it ended up tripling after that.
Yeah, his cards spiked huge last year during the playoffs and now have come way down, way down. You can actually get some really good value on Tyler Hero PSA 10 cards right now, rookies. Picking those up. If you feel,
yeah, I would have just flipped it and bought some Adam Duns with it. What do you got there, guy?
That's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. Got a little water, guy, a little parched. All right, let us move on to the next segment. It's our Sports Card 101 segment. We're going to talk a little grading and when to grade, why to grade, how to grade. Do I grade everything? That type of thing. I mean, what is your take on grading and best circumstances to grade cards?
So listen, I've got a little bit of a unpopular grading opinion, but I think I said last episode about how I've never actually formally submitted cards on my own yet. I've been trying with HGA, haven't got lucky yet, but I have 2 out via somebody else for the first time ever. So full transparency, I've never graded a card in my life. Do I own a lot of graded cards? Yes, I bought graded cards. What do I think about them? I think I've mentioned. I don't like, other than 10s, population reports are worthless, so you can't go by them. Everyone's cracking this crap open. You have no idea how many 8s and 9s are in existence, period. I don't care what anyone says. You have no idea. There are so many more being cracked open than you realize. So the only numbers that mean anything are 10s. Even those, some people are probably crazy enough to resubmit somewhere else anyway. I'm kidding. You wouldn't resubmit a 10. But grading, I don't know. I see too many cards. I see too many cards that look that they're clearly not 10s. Like PSA, I see so many PSA 10s that aren't 10s that make me upset. So I don't trust any of the PSA or these other company 10s because I don't believe they're actually 10s. I think they're too lenient. Some of these companies. I think the only card company that is a 10 is a 10 is Beckett. And then and because you don't see a lot of Beckett 10s. How many Beckett 10s are out there? There's like 500 million PSA 10s. And there's a couple BGS 10s.
Yeah.
So my opinion on grading, listen, I love graded vintage. I think graded vintage is probably more close to what it actually is and is firm. And as far as determining value when it comes time for a trade or a sale or what you have, I believe grading is much better for vintage. It's tough. I just don't have the urge to grade things in my PC.
So that begs the question for those that aren't PC flippers and collectors, or flippers and investors. Do you just buy the card already graded, or do you buy 5 or 6 of the card raw and then send it in to get graded? As long as you're not trying to flip it quick and you can wait the potentially 3 to 6 months that you're gonna have to wait right now for PSA to get back to you or BGS to get back to you, is that what you do? I mean, and if you're a flipper or an investor, it doesn't matter whether or not PSA is too lenient. PSA 10s have the value.
If you're a flipper or investor, as soon as this backlog clears, you send everything you pull or buy that you think is going to grade well, and you send it to PSA. Why? Because for some reason, the PSA secondary market is through the roof. We could talk in another future episode. There's some HGA cards outperforming PSA 10s, but we'll talk about that another. We'll talk about that another time.
HGA and for now,
there
are definitely people that are buying the shiny object. With that said, there are some, I've definitely seen it, HGA cards that are selling, not even 10s, HGA 9s, and the HGA, I saw a Topps 1993 Topps Jeter that we bought to actually give away on our social media contest. I paid $65 for that. I saw an HGA 8.5 close for $80. And, so there's definitely some people that are going after the shiny object because they like the way it looks. With that said, if I was looking for long-term value, I'm still sending to PSA and BGS. HGA has at least 5 years that they got to get through in this world before I'm sending any high dollar value cards to them with any trust that they're going to be around for the long haul.
Yeah, listen, and if HGA is around in 5 years, send your cards then. I mean, it's just because you have the first one graded by HGA doesn't make it any more valuable.
Yeah.
So if they're still around, you send it then. But I agree. But to be fair, if people really like, it's about the shiny object, and people like the look, the feel, and the thinner slab of the PSA just for displaying purposes and what have you. And I believe that's why it outperforms. So to be fair, is HGA outselling PSA now because of the color match and the label stuff? Is that's what happening now, or do people actually think with their AI grading that it's actually a better card?
I think people are generally stupid and like the way that it looks.
No, I agree, but that just proves my PSA point. I think PSA, it just they put any number on it because it's in a PSA slab. People pay more for it, not because it's a better graded card. I want the card to be in great condition. Whatever categories are grading it on, I want that number to reflect what's in the damn slab, and I don't think that's always the case.
No.
I would love to do an experiment and take 100 BGS 9.5s and send them to PSA, and then 100 PSA 10s and send them to BGS and see what happens. Just for fun.
Well, if we can make some money at this little game that we're playing here, then maybe we'll do that experiment once.
No, I just need to know. I care less about making money. I just need to know. Oh. To me, if it's not a BGS or BVG, I mean, to me, those are the better graded cards. And that's just pure opinion. I mean, I definitely don't have enough facts to back that up. I can't prove that. So don't comment at me 100 times saying, show me why. I can't. Just my feel.
Yeah, well, I mean, you definitely see a lot less BGS 10s, and if you do get in BGS 10s, definitely sell.
Well, that's Exhibit A, 100%.
Yeah, and you definitely can sell a BGS 10 for more than a PSA 10. It's just fact. So, if you look at the values of everything side by side, I mean, that's going to be interesting when somebody has a 1986 Fleer Michael Jordan BGS 10 and, see what that goes for. Because I believe all the cards so far that have sold for big dollars are PSA 10s.
Yep. No, all day long. Give me a BGS 9.5 with quad 9.5 grades or better. And that's the card I want.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, it's worth 10 to 15% less than PSA 10, but it is what
I go to bed that night knowing it's a better condition card.
Yeah, and and for those of you that are looking for flips or investors, submitting to BGS or PSA is what you should be doing. But if you like the look and it's for PC, HGA, and you want the slab for preservation, HGA is our personal favorite right now just because the cards look amazing. Like if you're keeping it for your personal collection, you're not planning on selling it, and you like the way, it's just for looks. I mean, the HGA cards hands down are so much better looking than both in, PSA and BGS, with the exception of the BGS Black Label, which beats all of them, but those are damn near impossible.
Oh yeah, 100%. If it's something you're sending in and you don't care what the grade is, I couldn't agree more. Pick the lowest turnaround time, pay the least amount for it. It'll be slabbed forever. It'll give you, give you the grade forever. Protected forever. And that's what you do. Don't pay the big bucks for turnaround time if you're keeping it forever.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna segue into our peanut gallery before our hot take, just because it pertains to what we're talking about as far as grading. So we do have a question coming in asking, if I can't afford a PSA 10, should I buy PSA, 9s, 8s, 7s, whatever it is? And my response to that is absolutely. I mean, don't be embarrassed. Don't, think that the card is worthless if you can only afford a PSA 9 or a PSA 8. It's still, and it's a card that you want, or it's a card that you want to flip. Those cards still have value. Those cards still go up. They still go down. They still react the same as the 10s go. And there's a lot of other people out there like you who can't afford PSA 10s. There's only a very small segment of the marketplace that are buying these $1,000, $10,000 cards. I mean, there's a lot of people that are exactly like you that are buying these $60, $70, $80 PSA 7s, 8s, and 9s because that's what they can afford and they still want the cards. So don't get caught in the hype and the FOMO and social media and everything that you see on Instagram and whatever. Buy the cards you like, or buy the cards step or two down of the stuff that's selling that you want to flip.
Yeah, and I would encourage more people to do that, because then less people are going to crack the damn cases open of a PSA 6 or whatever and resubmit it somewhere else and hope for a better grade.
Yeah, which is just...
Sorry, I'm still mad at the grading segment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a fair point as far as, the whole pop report, and it's supposed to give you an idea of how many cards exist so you can judge scarcity. But as he said, there is literally hundreds of videos on YouTube on how to break open a slab so you can get a card out and, resubmit it for regrading. And granted, here's what you can do instead is if you feel that there's a gross misjudgment on the card, you can resubmit it back to PSA or BGS for a second opinion and state your reason, and they will regrade the card and reslab the card if they feel that there's a need for change. And a lot of people, I don't know if they don't know that or they just want a fresh look. But, if you want to be true to the hobby, then you can, resubmit it for grading, or you be like everybody else and don't give a fuck and you crack it open and resubmit it.
That battle I'll concede to you about the hobby is, people don't give a shit. They just crack it. They don't care.
Every man and woman for themselves is how a lot of people look at it, and they only care about their own bottom line. So they want a better grade. They want to flip it for more money. So they'll crack it and submit it, resubmit it.
Yeah, you just made me think of it. I wish I could pull it out right now. I definitely, when I was buying all those Melky Cabrera BGS cards, if it's a rare card and I don't know if I'm going to see one again and I needed to put it in my PC, I definitely own Melky Cabrera BGS 7.5s. Like, I definitely do.
Yeah.
Like, I have no problem. It's a PC card. I definitely own lower grade Adam Dunn's just because, if there's 22 of them or something, I may never see one again. Especially if it's from, the late 90s, early 2000s. So I'll pick it up just because I may not see it again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially older cards, stuff that's not going to grade as high anyway. You can buy PSA 4s, 5s, stuff that's from, 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever. Those cards still very much hold value. And as far as modern day cards, I wouldn't necessarily be buying like PSA 5s. Of, let's say, Jason Dominguez or, some of that, no.
I
mean, stuff like that, you're better off buying raw, but, anything 7, 8, 9, is fairly decent. And then any higher value cards, even 5s and 6s, you can look at.
It's going to be so interesting in 6 months when Beckett and when BGS and PSA get caught up. And we see some of the pop spikes on some of these cards. You're going to wish you've bought vintage the last 6 months. I guarantee it.
Well, your favorite influencer has been crying about buying vintage for a long time. So, there's a lot of people that have been saying...
vintage prices are up 100%. I mean, I've definitely sold some of my lower grade vintage for way more than I picked it up for just because I was turning into things I want. But vintage cards are and some of the grades and pop reports on those, because I think they get not cracked open as often. They're going to be so scarce compared to your ultra modern pops.
Yeah, I mean, 100% agree.
Like more than they already are scarce.
Yeah, 100% agree. All right, so now we have our hot take. We're going to talk about... No, and you have something else on...
No, I was going to say, what is our hot take?
What is our hot take? Our hot take is Wander Franco, boomer bust. And
I thought we weren't analysts.
We're not. I'm going to say, for the sake of our hot take, I'm going to say bust. I think that... from a card perspective, because a lot of his cards are worth a ton of money. And, other than Tatis and Jeter, can you name me other shortstops cards that are selling for tons of money?
Like after guys like Ripken and Ozzie and all that?
Yes, I'm not talking vintage. I'm talking about guys that have played in the last 20 years.
Last 20 years shortstops. Well, A-Rod should be selling for more if you didn't put needles in his behind, but...
Well, I mean, he's also third base / shortstop,
Well, he was a shortstop till Jeter said, I ain't, you're playing third, son.
All right, well, get off your Yankee circle jerk over here and give me shortstops that...
That's just pure fact. He agreed to play third when he came to the Yankees, but he's a shortstop.
Okay, well, I'm talking about guys that have played shortstop for their careers that, I mean, the name that pops into my head is like Trevor Story. Trevor Story, if you project his numbers over the course of an entire Major League Baseball career, he's a Hall of Famer. And his cards sell for shit. And
really, Story's that good?
Look at his numbers.
Yeah, I believe you. I never looked at like prorating it over a whole career.
I mean, he hits 300. He hits for power. I mean, if you prorated his numbers over a whole career, especially for a shortstop, he's got Hall of Fame numbers. I mean, Lindor, for example, regarded as one of the best shortstops in the league. Before he got traded to the Mets, his cards weren't worth much. So, and that's what I'm saying. Obviously, other than the hype of Wander being number one, if he doesn't come up and literally hit the shit out of the ball from beginning to end of his career, I don't think his cards are going to be worth what people think his cards are going to be worth.
I mean, I think that's fair with the position. I do think that he's probably not going to end up a shortstop, to be honest with you. Some of the reports on him is build, and he's so compact that he's probably going to move positions personally. But say a second, center field. Listen, all these teams, they draft shortstop after shortstop after shortstop because from Little League on, who is your best athlete on any team at any given time on a baseball field?
God, I was a Little League shortstop.
It was you. No, you weren't. You were not a shortstop.
I was a Little League shortstop.
I mean, past the age of 8. Most of your best athletes on the field are shortstops. So you look at some of these farm systems.
One freshman game at shortstop, guy.
Oh, Christ. Most of these teams will draft shortstop after shortstop after shortstop. Why? Because they can put them anywhere on the field. They feel they can teach these guys to play any position on the field, and they're drafting not only the talent, but they're drafting because their athleticism. And most of your athletes are the better athletes are your shortstops. So I think Wander has the ability. Listen, I mean, he's in Tampa, so his path to the majors is pretty clear. He's going to get up because someone else is going to have to get out of the way because they can't pay him. No, I don't think it matters. I mean, again, to what I said earlier, they keep labeling this guy this generational switch hitting talent. I mean, who the hell knows? Owned everyone in the minors. His 2019 season was ridiculous.
The whole purpose of Hot Take, boom or bust. Boom or bust. Pick a side.
Me?
Yes, pick a side.
Boom. The guy's booming.
All right. I'm going bust. Bust for me, boom for him. We'll see. He's going to get called up. He's going to play this year. We'll see what happens. I just think being number one overall and just unless he comes up and performs and lives up to the hype that people are going to panic sell, and I don't think his cards are going to be worth what people think they are.
So buy. I mean, the kid's he's so young. If they panic sell, if he comes up this year and they panic sell, I'd still buy him.
No, I'm going bust. That's my take.
So you're not touching him.
I mean, not right now. No. I mean, I don't know. I also
listen. I've been flipping his stuff on Check Out My Cards all winter. So if people are buying them like crazy, I can attest to that.
Of course
stuff
they are,
even be buying, they're buying.
Of course they are because he's number one in MLB top 100 prospects. So everybody's reading the hype and they're buying in. I just,
listen. Do I have a bunch of Wander? Yeah, sure. I have a bunch of Wander that I'll sit on for a little bit because if he's the number one prospect and I happen to own them, am I collecting him? No, I'm not collecting him.
Isn't he
still looking? I'm still looking for my next player collector.
Yeah, he's 5'10", 189 pounds.
Mickey Mantle is 5'10".
Who?
Mickey Mantle.
Guy, we're not even talking about the same eras. Get the fuck out of here with Mickey Mantle.
Well, don't give me size. What's 5'10"? You telling me he's small?
Yeah.
No.
He's listed at 5'10", which means he's probably closer to 5'8.5", and he's like 170 pounds.
He's big enough where longevity is not an issue. It's guys like Altuve and Pedroia, who are both 5'6" and 5'7". They both won MVPs. Now they both are. I think Altuve you're going to see fade because he's not going to be able to stay healthy, and Pedroia, as we know, disappeared into the infirmary as well. But
Altuve, his best year. These are career stats. Where's his home run stats?
He hits a lot of home runs.
I mean,
for a 5'6" dude.
Yeah, exactly the point. For a 5'6" dude, not for a guy whose cards are going to be worth a shit ton of money in 20 years. His best season is 24 home runs.
Okay.
What's
your point?
That's decent for an MLB second baseman, but it's not going to be somebody whose cards are worth a ton of money. And
I'm just saying Wander's not small. That's all I'm saying. I agree with you. Altuve's aren't going to be worth anything.
Yeah, and I
no Astro's going to be worth anything for a while.
I don't know. Unless you're like the prototypical guy that is going to hit 40 home runs and, have Trout-like numbers.
That's the problem. That's the problem. We can't all look for the next Trout. You got to I think that's the problem. I think I'm probably guilty of it too. I think we're looking and we're not.
That's where the value is, though. Where's the money? Where's the guys?
There's more guys you could sell and make money off of than Trout. Okay, and there's definitely more guys I would put away that I have in my personal collection that are not named Michael Trout.
Name me the top 5 guys as far as dollar value in Major League Baseball right now. Mike Trout, number 1. Yes, card wise. We're not analysts. We're talking about cards. Mike Trout, number 1.
You were talking about his compact build a minute ago.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about his compact build to relate to the fact that he's not going to hit home runs, and if he doesn't hit home runs, his cards aren't going to be worth shit.
Mickey Mantle hit 532 home runs.
Yeah, and he also fucking ate greenies and drank a 6-pack before he came out onto the field. It was a different era. It's not the 50s anymore.
The guy didn't work out.
It's not the 50s. Yeah, and the pitchers weren't anywhere near as good. The fucking fields were smaller. So it's not the same. If Mickey Mantle played in the fucking major leagues right now the way he played back in the 60s, he'd be mediocre at best.
Oh, boy. I hope we don't have any older listeners.
Once again,
smokes,
getting back to my previous point, top 5.
How would Babe Ruth do?
I don't know. How big was he?
You suck, dude. No.
But look at guys that are prototypical guys that are playing well and doing, hitting 300 with 40, 35 to 40 home runs. I mean, look at these guys. Top 5 guys that are in Major League Baseball right now that are selling for the most money. Go. Mike Trout is number 1.
Mike Trout, you put me on the spot, guy. The most money in the major leagues right now.
I'll give you 1 through 4 if you can give me 5. 1 is Mike Trout. 2 is Acuna.
Okay.
Would you agree? Tatis. Soto. What do all 4 of those people have in common? They hit more than 30. Football. They hit more than 30 home runs a year.
Okay. Why can't Wander hit more than 30 home runs a year? Because he's 5'10"?
Because he's 5'10" on a good day.
No, that's not a good argument. You're gonna get destroyed.
I don't care, dude. Tatis, 6'4". Trout, 6'2". Acuna, probably 6'1". Soto, maybe on the smaller side. But, dude, Wander is small. You call it compact, but he ain't hitting.
You know who else is small in your world? Jason Dominguez.
How big is Jason Dominguez?
Oh, why don't you go look that up, sir?
I am going to look that up,
Why don't you go look up how big Jason Dominguez is? If we're...
Oh, you better hope. He's 5'10", 190 pounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he's 18.
Exact same player.
He's 18 years old. He's got another couple years of growth.
He's done growing.
He's not done growing. And Wander's done. Dude, I'm not.
So much for a high school health class.
Yeah, I'm not buying it.
All right, guy.
I personally think Wander does not crack 25 or more home runs in his career, and therefore his cards are going to be worth shit. I'm staying by bust.
That's fine. Long-term career, we have nothing to base it on. Let me see him play in the majors first, then we'll go. But yeah, obviously, but in the short term, there's a lot of money to be made on Wander Franco.
Yeah, fair. I mean, buy stuff now. He hits a couple home runs in the first month or 2 of the season. stuff will spike 40-50% easy, and you can dump it 100% on that. But is he somebody I'm grabbing for the long term? No. And the reason why I'm looking at Jason Dominguez, potentially perfect storm. He plays for the Yankees, big market. If he hits, he doesn't have to hit 50 home runs. Jason Dominguez hits 35 home runs a year in New York. And they win a couple rings while he's there. I mean, his cards are going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, nothing to add to that, sir.
We are ridiculously over time. We have rambled on a whole lot. So we're going to wrap up week 4. Stay tuned for next week's episode, week 5. We'll be talking about a whole lot of fun stuff as far as partial ownership in the card market. And then also for those of you that are listening, we're running contests on our social media. So go check out our Twitter, go check out our Instagram, and follow us and win some cards. Any final notes?
No, sir. No, sir.
All right. Have a good week,
Glad
everybody.
I'm not 5'10".